In this video, we're going to go over setting up checklist templates so that you can use them during inspections. We'll be taking a look at the checklists and how to set them up with checkpoints. So on this screen, we see a list of different checklist templates, and we can take a preview of any of them. And if we want to add a new checklist, we click Add New. We just give the checklist template a title, and you create the checklist. And at this point, it's only a blank form. You see that there are 0 checkpoints. But if we click on the checkpoints, we can go ahead and add a few checks to the template, like check 1. And we can just keep adding them on this one screen for as many checkpoints as we want to add. So every line is a new checkpoint. So we can create 3 checkpoints. There they are. So if we go back to our checklist listing, we see our new checklist with the 3 checkpoints. A little preview there. So we created a very simple checklist, but there's a lot more that you can do in FTQ360. So we're going to get into a little bit more detail about how that's actually done. The basic structure here is that on the left-hand side is our listing panel, and on the right-hand side is the editing panel. So if you have one checklist selected with a checkbox highlighted, you can go ahead and edit various different aspects of the checklist. If you have more than one checklist selected, like I have here, you're able to edit the common elements between these 2 checklists. We already went over the adding a simple checklist, but if we want to choose a new one from our library, what we can do is look at the library. We can do a little search, and we can take a little preview of it. And if we like what we see, we can go like this, and we'll add that checklist to our library. And you see there it is. If you want to duplicate a checklist, select the checklist, duplicate, and now the duplicate has been made, and you can edit that duplicate. Let's take a closer look at the editing opportunities that we have on the individual checkpoints. So if we choose a checkpoint, we have a lot of things that we can do with that checkpoint to control its behavior. We're not going to get into all the details here, but we'll give you a brief overview. Of course, there's some edits that you can make to the text and codes and reestablish a different type, whether it's quality or safety or deficiency type of checkpoint. And these control how it looks on the inspection screen. Every checkpoint can be assigned a category. So if you have multiple trades on one checklist, it will always associate that activity with a specific trade. We can control the behavior of the actual checkpoint, whether or not it's visible, and if then kind of situation where we can go and set the visibility of this particular checkpoint dependent on certain criteria, either by a simple reference to other checkpoints or by a complex formula. Inspectors have the ability to copy a checklist, and this copy mode controls what gets copied, everything, just the data or nothing. And this is great for things like daily reports. You can set the default values for key metrics. You can have a list of options for inspectors to choose from as a response to the checkpoint. These will appear as a drop-down, but if you want them to appear as buttons. And you can also create formulas. This is an advanced feature for power accounts, and this allows you to add complex formulas to checkpoints that do automatic calculations on the basis of information that's entered elsewhere on the inspection. As we get down to mandatory options, you can make different things mandatory on the inspection, and you can also reference information in terms of files, links, or just notes that will appear on the checklist so that they're available to the inspector while they're inspecting. Now that you've taken a look at some of the capabilities of editing checkpoints and checklists, if you need additional details, a good place to start is with Help. Look at Help documentation, then go to Setup. And there's a lot of information about every little aspect of setting up the checklist to get the kind of behaviors that you like. Of course, you can always contact customer support to answer any questions that you might have, including by chat, by clicking here, email, or phone.